Welcome back to Progressive Voices. I'm Wendy Sue Johnson, and I'm continuing our conversation with Danny Klaskis from the Eau Claire Area School District. Welcome back, Danny.
Thank you.
You, in part one, had been telling us about the nature of your job, and if you could just talk a little bit about how you are able to connect homeless families in the Eau Claire Area School District to other resources in the community.
Through partnerships with a lot of the area agencies, thanks to the continuum of care meetings that have gone on for a number of years now. Many of the agencies that work with homeless individuals in the Chippewa Valley are connected, and we are aware of each other's services and what we can provide. And so being well versed in those, then when I do learn of a family and what situation they're in, then I can kind of tell them, you know, this is where you need to go, and help them navigate those services as best as I know how. And then hopefully, you know, that solves some issues that they are working through.
We were talking about how you had a family this past October who was living in their car. So what sort of services or people did you connect them with?
Sure. Well, the family called 8 o'clock that night as I was driving home and said, you know, we're sleeping in our car. It was a mom, dad, and their son. After checking to make sure, you know, I didn't have a resource for them to go, and I knew that they wouldn't be able to get in the shelter. I knew the shelters were full. It was still warm out, and I said, well, lock all your doors, where are you? And made sure that they had pillows and blankets, and that it was a secure, lit area. And then I told them, I will talk to you in the morning so that we can get you hopefully somewhere else and not in your car. So the next morning I called Beacon and talked to Ryan Graham, the intake worker, and we worked together, and luckily they had something happening, movement within the shelter, that they were able to get the family in that day. And so from there they worked through things at Beacon, and they are now in their own place. Which is pretty amazing. I saw the parent this morning, and to just sit there and be able to look at someone who was in their vehicle 3 months ago and now they're in their own place, largely in part to the support that Beacon provided in helping them do that. But really that parent having that opportunity to be connected with those services and find a way, that's just amazing. I mean, the emotions they go through.
So was their son able to continue in his same school?
Yes. Yes, he did during that time. He stayed at the same school, and we provided transportation support for them, pretty seamless. And now that they're in their own place, now they're going to choose to go to the area school, and all the kids that live around him now will become kids he knows and are friends with, and it progresses naturally, as it would for anyone who just moved into a new place.
So you talked about the transportation piece. Obviously the school bus isn't going to be swinging by the Beacon House on the way to all the various elementary schools. Talk about how that logistic works.
Sure. So our program operates as inexpensively as possible. And the school bus is always the first choice because that is the most inexpensive and reliable transportation, but that is not always an option. So if not, then we have some options of bus passes for the older students. For the younger students, we see if we can provide some transportation support in the means of a gas-only gas card. And then from there, our last resort would be something like a taxi cab ride. But really the program operates in a way that we try to find the least expensive mean of transportation with the students' best interest in mind, and then go from there.
So by bus passes, they're utilizing the city bus system?
They are, yes, yeah, which is a great opportunity for them because they legitimately need that bus pass to get to and from school, but that really offers them an opportunity to travel around the city and engage in, you know, having employment or getting other resources in the community. So it's a wonderful thing for them to have that bus pass if they can navigate that.
So do you have some other examples of how the Eau Claire Area School District homeless program assists students in being successful in school?
I think that our our biggest success is getting them to the necessary resources to get out of homelessness. But within the schools, you know, I've heard time and time again how once a family who might have had attendance issues, a student that had attendance issues is connected with our program, that just providing things that weren't there, like those gas-only gift cards and or transportation otherwise, improves attendance, you know, tenfold. All of a sudden there is no attendance issues. And kids who were coming you know, stressed out or with behavior issues are now coming to school, you know, feeling calm, relaxed, you know, ready to learn and on a better track to learning. And that's just seen again and again. But also the program, you know, schools are equipped to work with the families, but really the students, and the homeless program is more equipped to work with the families and help that side of it, because I had a professor that said, you know, you can't love the student unless you love the parent. And what that means is that, you know, if you really want to see the best for a child, you have to invest in that parent also. And that's what our program really does, is see what does this parent and family need at this time to make it a better situation and healthy situation for the child.
You mentioned attendance. Obviously, children can't learn unless they're in school, but when parents are in crisis, sometimes they really are just looking at how they are going to survive the day and find their next meal, and you know, the children aren't able to focus on the homework and getting to school, and so that sounds like a great success.
Yes, yeah. It I think gives the parent a gift of time and takes a little bit of worry off their plate to know that the school district is in support of what they're going through, and that there's no judgment. We just want to help them get to a healthier place.
You had mentioned an example of someone who had come back and volunteered for your program. Tell us about that.
Yeah. A family at the beginning of the school year, mom, dad, and 2 kids. One is in the school district, one's younger. And she came in, and they were in a homeless situation. They were doubled up, and we actually provided very little to the family. They didn't even need transportation. It was more like a backpack and some socks and underwear. But the mom was so appreciative and taken back, as are many of our families. I mean, really, all our families are very appreciative of what we do, and they show that and tell us that often. But she wanted to give back and had the opportunity to do that, and so while they were still in their homeless situation, she came back and volunteered for the program, was in there helping us with donations and organization and little odd and end stuff, and then they are in their own place now, and she continues to come back and donate her time. And I hear that from many parents that say, you know, and I know that at times they're really not in a spot where they can come in and volunteer. You know, they're really trying to work through their own stuff, but I hear that where they're like, you know, I'm going to help, or I want to come back and help. And I say, you know what, someday down the road you're going to help someone because you understand what it feels like to be, you know, in a compromising situation, and they really do have that compassion to help others as they've been helped.
And then one other example, you have been checking your phone just prior to our taping because you had a teenage student who had sort of a personal crisis, not a very serious nature, but she needed to get back home.
She did, yeah, and this is a good example of how well this program fills that gap, you know, when a family does not have all the resources. That, you know, she was at school, she had some hygiene issues, and realized it, was very embarrassed, went to the office, and that parent was able to call me and say, you know, is it possible she could just get a cab to get home and take care of things and then get back to school? And had, you know, we not been that resource, I just think of, you know, that poor kid would have been sitting there in school all day, possibly not able to go back to class and missing out on the learning because of that, but now that's not an issue at all.
Well, thanks so much, Danny, for sharing your experiences in helping the students in Eau Claire Area School District stay in class and stay in school so that they can be successful and hopefully not need services like yours in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.